tell everyone, why did you start the Math Guru? You're the founder, you're the CEO of the Math Guru. Why
I am. Okay, so my quick story is I failed grade 11 math twice. So I went to school at a very like academic school where things were kind of, it was very like, if you didn't learn a specific way, then like get out. So I failed grade 11 math twice, and I was taught that I wasn't a math person. I was always a very creative person. I wanted to like marry Keanu Reeves, still do, be a famous actress, the whole vibe. So basically I was labeled like, well, you're not a math person, you're a creative type. And there was always that dichotomy. So my parents, who were like super supportive and like, great, we're like, that's so cool that you want to marry Keanu Reeves and be an actress, but you really need to graduate high school. And they sent me to this alternative school where, like, no joke, there was no such thing as a math person. It was a small school. My math teacher immediately was like, I don't really know what you're talking about with this math person thing, but how about you just sit and do what I say and like learn? And I got a 99 in grade 12 math, and the rest is history. I was kind of like, you know, it has very little, I mean, it has stuff to do with math, but it has little to do with math and more about using math as a means to show people that they're capable of anything. Because for me, I was taught my whole life that I was incapable of this one thing. And once I kind of proved to myself that wasn't true, everything opened up for me. So
this is one of the things that I love that you said, and that I've heard you say before. What happens when we are younger, or when one of our children thinks that they are not a math person or not good at math? How does tell how that translates to everything else in your life? So it's not just, this is not just about math.
No. I always am like, math to me is like such an easy like means to an end in a way. And actually, so two things, like, do you know, I don't know if you know this, but I have this podcast called Math Therapy that I started last year.
Yes.
But it's based on this exact premise that, so when a kid, and many of you guys watching this are probably like, oh, that was me. When a kid gets all of a sudden the idea in their head that they're not a math person, right? That is, it always happens. Like, I call it a math trauma. So like, there are many different reasons it happens, but once that happens, they hang on to that feeling of like, there was this thing and I couldn't do it. And it turned out I wasn't the type of person who could do it. So that means the next time an obstacle comes along, their go-to, and for many adults, the go-to is, I'm just not that type of person. Right. And it just cuts off so much in life. So for me, I like math as an entry point, because for so many people, that was the thing. And for so many women, but for so many people, that was the thing they were taught that they couldn't do. Right. So, you know, it's like, if you can, at a young age.
It has remnants. We hear it in our work at Actua, where and again, a lot of girls, especially parents of girls, will say, oh, you know what, I'm not a math person either.
Exactly.
It's in her genes. She's
exactly.
not good at math. It's because I'm not.
Exactly.
And that is, you know, I told this story about last week about my daughter's teacher in grade 3, who just started every math lesson with, math is beautiful.
Yeah.
Everyone is good at math. There's no one that isn't good at math. Everybody is born amazing at math. And how transformative that was for her, to hear that message every single day, and to hear how beautiful it was. Like, it didn't even matter if she didn't learn any of the math concepts, because to get that ingrained in you, and that's like my number one tip to parents, is like, just say science is everywhere. Science is beautiful. Like, I mean, you don't even have to know that much to have an impact with that kind of a confidence building statement.
Well, for sure. And okay, you know, John Mighton, did I talk about this last time? I hope, like, I'm hoping no one around me is overhearing me, because I'm obsessed with John Mighton and it's now become a joke. But he says, so he's on this whole, like, he just wrote a book called All Things Being Equal. And he says, and it's so interesting, that actually math is the greatest equalizer. And if we thought of math differently, he's done so much research, like he has empirical evidence, he has actual like evidence, research-based evidence, that math is the easiest way to equalize a classroom. But actually, you can go into any classroom and be like, I'm going to teach you all in an hour how to divide fractions and the concept behind it. And I'm not going to go on a whole rant, which I'm already starting to go on, but the point is, he has proven time and time again that regardless of skill level and background, math can actually be the thing that builds the confidence and that equalizes intelligent playing fields. So like, it's exactly what you said. It's not so much about the math, but it's about the mindset that we develop around math. And that's what I love telling parents. It's like, it doesn't matter if you don't know anything about math, because you know something about mindset. You're a parent. You've failed over and over again. You've made a ton of mistakes. You've gone through some hard stuff in your life. If you can teach your child how to deal with those things, that's really half the battle when it comes to math.
I love it. And that's super helpful messaging right now, where parents we're at home and all of a sudden have to take over as the math teacher among every other subject. But a lot of anxiety around this, and a lot of questions that we're hearing from parents. So I'm hoping you can again share some of the resources that you talked about. What are the best things for parents to be using? So some kids are just tired of, some kids love worksheets, some kids hate worksheets. Like what if they're tired of that? What if they're getting all their work done super quickly? What if you just can't get them motivated? Like, what are the best tools and tricks to get kids doing math at home?
So it's so funny because I feel like every week that I've been talking about this, it's changed, like the narrative has changed with regards to like what the struggles are. So for parents, like such a big struggle is like, you're busy, right? Like parents who are working from home are working from home. So they don't have time to like be monitoring their kids and like be running around and making sure they're doing their thing. And also kids now are starting to feel that disconnection and just feeling like, what's the bigger picture, right? So one thing I really love, like, so before we get into like actual resources, I love using like people as resources. So like, I find that a lot of younger kids miss their friends, and it's a bit of a struggle for them to like have a Zoom play date with their friends and like not really know what to do. So a really cool, like, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of like, well, we're here, but that's not how kids like interact, right? So like, I'm
going to adjust my chair, and if I zoom down, don't judge me.
Okay. I love the idea of like, get your kids to play teacher student, right? So like they're both working on a fractions unit. Be like, awesome, have fun. You guys know what you're doing in class. I want you guys to have like set up a fake classroom, and you need 3 things this week. You need to both make each other quizzes. You need to mark each other's homework, and you've got to make yourselves like, you have to make each of, you know, make your friend a math treasure hunt around their bedroom. I don't know, like, but like kind of outsource it. So like now their playtime is focused, but B, it's like everyone knows that you learn the most when you're teaching someone else and you feel like there's a purpose for it, right? So like, it's a good way to get like a kid that's not that confident in math being like, ooh, I get to make my friend a test and mark it, you know?
And I
like,
can teach it. I was thinking just as you were saying that, how, or last week when you were saying it, like, oh my goodness, there's some, I know some amazing high school students that are trying to get themselves, you know, keep themselves occupied, trying to keep up their own learning, like high school babysitters that you use, like task them or ask them. I mean, also pay them, but to say like, hey, my kid's next thing is on whatever, balance, which I had a whole new like understanding of the equal sign this morning from grade 1 math. Like the teacher's like, let me start by saying equals, it doesn't mean blah plus blah equals the answer. It's both sides are equal.
Oh, they're balanced. Oh,
balanced.
It's like philosophically, it's like an existential thing when you get into it that way. Wow.
So listen, there is a lot to learn from grade 1 math from someone that has a science degree. But yeah, it like task them with that kind of thing. So it could be buddies, it could be older to younger, it could be siblings, it could be grandparents. Like, yeah.
I love that's actually, I really like that. That's such a nice idea to like hire a high school student. Like, again, like, yeah, like I think that's the cool thing is like, I feel like I'm like so excited. I feel like this is like a really, really cool time to like, we finally get to learn math on our own terms. Parents, you guys have been complaining for years about how annoying the curriculum is and how pointless it is and how much stress is caused because of marks. Like, this is the time to learn whatever you want and to help your kid fall in love with math. So like, okay, so buddy system stuff is one thing. My other thing that I love with like at the beginning of the week coming up with like topic, you know what? I feel like this is like prepping your kid for university at the age of like 10, to be honest. Like, so, you know, at the beginning of the week being like, what are 5 things you're really interested in knowing? And maybe they're like, I want to know more about koalas, or like, I want to know about the coronavirus, or like, I want to learn about this, my idol, Keanu Reeves, like whatever, you know? So like, whatever. So pick your 3 themes, right? And then create like a curriculum around it. So like, let's say we're learning about Keanu. Let's just say you could be like, okay, great. So let's think of 3 math things we can do around this. That's like an independent study research project. So like the movie Speed, there's a lot of math in there. How fast was that bus going? Let's compare it to other metro systems. Like, let's talk about speed. Like, you could do a little thing on that. Then maybe you could like research him and come up with the 5 most interesting numbers in his life. Like, just pick things they're interested in. And then, because you know how we're always like, oh my God, there's math all around us, la, la, la. This is the time to like,
but you know what? Really... That is the best point ever. We're like, there's math all around us. We're not going to tell you about that because we're going to do this over here. But there is math all around you. Like, I've always like that. Always like makes me, you know. Anyway, it just makes me crazy. But, even like, go ahead.
No, but it's true, right? And then be like, you need to write 5 math questions related to Keanu Reeves. Like, what's the difference between my age and Keanu Reeves's age? Fully appropriate, by the way. What's like, you know what I mean? Like, you can like make up things like that. Like,
totally.
A bunch of assignments based around a topic of interest that incorporate math. And like, again, as a parent, you can decide how much involvement you have or don't. I was telling you this the last time about a parent who was like, honestly, get out of my face, go to the kitchen. I want you to like open a restaurant for me. That involves like going through our fridge and pricing everything, making me a menu with all of the items, tell me how much everything costs. And at the end of the day, I'm going to come like pretend to, or, you know, eat at the restaurant and you're going to have to make change. Like these little projects that can occupy them and keep them interested. Like, so
budgeting. I think budgeting is one of the best things ever.
Yeah.
Like, learning how to do that and understanding what that about, you know, there's math there, there's practicality there, there's just, it's fun. It's so fun.
It's so fun. You know, like, you know, when it's like lemonade stand season and you see those kids out there just like loving their life, counting the cash. And I'm always like, oh my God, like that is all math and they're loving it, right? Like they can see that all happening in action. They had to measure everything. They have to sell stuff. They have to make change. So like there are activities
customer
like
service.
This.
Seriously.
Customers. Exactly. Well, and also I think you brought this up last time about how to incorporate like all of these amazing charitable aspects that are coming out right now, right? Like, you know, like the kids who are making masks for people, like there's a lot of measurement involved in that. So like even finding activities like that, like where you're actually, like I really like, you know, kids always say that one of the things they hate is that the math isn't applicable. Yes. Well, like now it's like, there's a lot of ways to make it applicable, especially because there's time to do more than just worksheets. Like there's time to spend a full week learning how to add one fraction. You can spend the whole week on it, right? Like it's like, that's cool.
And to just eliminate the negativity around it, right? So like this is the chance, and understanding what that message that they're taking in when you're like, just hurry it up. Like get it done. It's just, you know, another thing that you need to do to get done, to get back to your own work, which I think I'm finding that I'm doing myself as well. Like just getting it, you know, trying to get it done. So tell us about, since things are evolving so quickly, what are, for those people that are using screens, when we talked about this too, is that like increased screen time is fine right now. We're all doing it. We need it to balance our own days. And that it's not all created equal, and you can have like positive ways to use screens that are productive and educational. What are your favorite math apps?
Okay. So yeah, we were talking about this, and I want to bring this up again. You just kind of hit it. That
yes, Keanu does math.
Oh my God. Why have I not started that website?
I don't know.
Okay, writing that down. Okay.
Your next company.
Yeah, seriously. Well, so the first thing is that idea of screen time is really important, that not all screen time is created equal, but also like, again, things like, I like incorporating all of these things together because this is why I like math. It's not like I'm just like, oh my God, it's all connected. Like it is, but also you can create feelings with math. So feelings of confidence, feelings of purpose, feelings of intelligence. So like, again, the idea of with screen time, there's school screen time where you're not allowed to do anything else. And then you graduate onto at a certain hour of the day of like your Netflix time or whatever. Again, just so kids feel like I've accomplished something and this is my reward. So I think that's important. For math things, I really love Khan Academy, like especially for older kids. Like you can look up any concept on there. You can just, you know, I'm finding that a lot of kids are finished their math work like by Monday. Like there's nothing left to do.
Yes.
And kids are used to being told what to do and having structured time. So, you know, I know a lot of us are like, I don't understand. Like we all want free time. even, you know, none of us do well with free time, most of us, because we live in a society that is super over programmed and structured. So like free time should be liberating, but it's not yet because we are not enlightened enough to like handle it. So like for kids, if they're done all their work, being like, pick a math concept that you don't really understand. Like no one understands why we divide fraction or flip it and multiply when we divide fractions. Like why? Research it, go on Khan Academy, right? To actually look up the topic. Then for actual practice, we both love IXL, right? Like
loving IXL, doing all the IXL. I said that last week. I've been like doing a little on the side myself. I find IXL as a parent, I will tell you why I like it.
Tell me.
I have one non-reader, like she's just learning how to read, and it reads you all the instructions. So it reads her all the instructions.
Oh.
So she can actually, you can hit a button and it reads her all the instructions. It actually explains, it gives you hints if you don't have it when you get it wrong. It like explains to you why. So it's super user friendly to little kids.
Right.
It's like they get rewards at the end of it, and it's rigorous. It's not like I find some of the math games a lot more gamey, which is totally fine. And then there's like every 15 minutes there's one math question, and so you're struggling to kind of find where the math is. But IXL is great. The other thing I love about it is it's so linear. And for my kid who's in grade 6, who's about to switch schools, and for other parents who are going through this, kind of looking at a transition, they can go back and review all of the stuff that they did in the past, right? Like, and that brings a lot of confidence to my older daughter, who is worried about forgetting things, right? So she can easily go on, see that she hasn't forgotten it, get reminded. Love that about it. But I love that you brought up Khan Academy, because most people know about Khan Academy, but getting kids using it during this time means that will be a tool in their toolbox for the rest of their academic life, which is awesome.
Well, and I brought up, there's a site called amazingeducationalresources.com. It is really overwhelming because it's basically a spreadsheet of just like every free resource. But, go on there. If you're looking for games, do that. And also, I really think try, tested and true. Get your kid to make themselves a set of flashcards. Like that will take them a couple of hours. And I swear,
everyone loves flashcards.
Yeah, everyone loves them. And I swear, if anyone leaves this pandemic not knowing their times tables, and that's all of the parents watching this included, I'm going to freak out. Like there is no reason for everyone not to know their times tables after this. Like, so flashcards.
So that's a good one. That's great. Cause like, there's a lot of calculator debate, right? Do they use calculators for basic multiplication? So I think that's an amazing tip.
Yeah, and like use calculators, but like we are like having a crisis, a pandemic of numeracy in Canada, where like people don't understand how numbers relate to each other, and times, and again, everyone complains about how school isn't teaching kids times table and basic math, and like the debate rages on, whatever. But make yourself your own flashcards. It's super fun. And, you can do that around the dinner table. And then one other thing, we had talked about workbooks. Oh, I did bring John Mighton up last time. Now I remember why. Because I was saying that my favorite workbook are the Jump Math workbooks. So, and like you can get so much stuff off of Amazon. Like we were saying how like kids normally hate workbooks, but I bet you right now a lot of kids are liking the comfort of paper and a book.
I agree. I dug out we had the jump books already. And then our teachers have been sending out like a workbook that can be printed out, which is great. And they've actually liked they want to be on their screens all the time, but they also really are loving the like not doing all their exercises on a screen. So like considering going back to that is a really good idea. Mm-hmm. You talked about the importance of math literacy, and we're all extremely aware of what's happening right now in terms of the implications of not being science literate, to the big decisions that are happening around COVID, to understanding how the data works, how it impacts you individually. And I know you've been talking a lot in the media about math and COVID and science literacy and COVID. So are you talking about that with kids? Like what are the big, do you think people are understanding the data? Are they responsive to it? Like just address that a little bit.
So I think it's really interesting because especially at the beginning of this, I was really doing a lot of work talking to my like followers on Instagram are mostly teenagers. I'm forever 16, but you know, many of my students are in high school and they follow me on Instagram. So it was really interesting, I found, because there was they strangely, for people who profess not to like math or science, loved it. Like I got a bunch of my tutors to do an Insta live, so every 10 minutes like a new one would come on and like give some math facts about like how social distancing works and this and that. And I found that that's what really convinced many of them to stay home and to take it seriously, and B, like gave a lot of weight to like all of the uncertainty. So I find that, like, obviously one of the craziest things about this is the unpredictability of it, and we're feeling uncertain, and especially for kids, there's that anxiety around not knowing what's going on. And I find math, like, not just informative, but to look at the math behind it and the science behind it, it gives them some sense of like what is happening. So it's not just some crazy weird disease going, right? It's like one of the coolest things I learned was the reason I might get this wrong, so you can correct me, but the reason why washing your hands work is because the COVID, like, or the coronavirus cell has like a fatty layer, and soap is a surfactant, and it like bursts it and it kills like, I was like, that is so cool. Like,
it's the best thing to show kids, and you can just go on and Google that. There's an experiment that just uses like water and pepper and shows what soap does to the outside the surface of the COVID molecule. And it's like, it's genius. Like, you just, it's so easy. They can actually do it, or they can watch it. But I agree. Like it brings, it just brings some structure and understanding to this. So it doesn't just seem like a random, scary, big thing. That's so good. Cause I've been talking a lot in the media mostly about like resources that parents can use for learning at home. But often I get asked the question, like, how are you talking to your kids about COVID, and how are you keeping the conversation so that it's serious, but not all doom and gloom. And I've responded, and you kind of mentioned this, that I've been talking to them about all the amazing innovations that are happening, right?
I love that.
So all the companies that are, shifting and doing PPE and building new materials that can be used in testing, and how amazing that is at just kind of bringing the science out, bringing the innovation out. But I think that's a really common thing for parents to be worried about, is just their kids. Everybody's feeling anxious. We know that mental health issues are like through the roof right now. So if we can bring some level of like factual grounding to this, then I think it's great. So,
and like, I want not to be selfish, but it's like, oh wait, are we off sync? Can you see me? Am I here?
Yes. Oh my God, you're totally, yes.
I was gonna say one other thing. I was gonna say really quick is, okay, I totally can't remember, so don't worry. Yeah, go ahead.
So, okay, I want to talk, because we talked a little bit at the end about education and how this whole thing is going to transform education. I have a whole bunch of selfish reasons why I'm excited. Not selfish. I mean, from a professional perspective, I love that every teacher in every school is having to get themselves together in terms of technologies being used, that they're using different tools that really do work for a lot of kids, that there's going to be this incredible openness to customized learning tools that are technology enabled, like all kinds of things are resulting from this. But I think this is also the kind of disruption that the education sector has been needing and looking for. I know this is a big topic for you, but what are your big thoughts here? Do you think that this is going to be transformative, or are we just going to go back to kind of same old, same old?
Well, okay, I love that you brought this up, and I wish I was psychic, but I'm not, and I don't want to be negative. And it's funny, because I was just thinking about this today, of being like, It's funny how many people are in a rush, like forget education for a second, but like how many people are in a rush to like get back to normal. And I'm very worried. Like I feel at the beginning of this, like this has been like a sine wave almost. Like at the beginning of this, people were like, oh my God, like Shakespeare was quarantined because of the plague and wrote this masterpiece. And people were like, blah, 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 like, you know, wow, the air is so clear and like da 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 da, silver linings. And like, I already feel like people are like, cool, like time's ticking, like let's get back to normal. And I'm worried. I'm definitely worried because I think you're right. I think me and you have both been saying that education needs disruption and it needs a massive makeover. And like all of the minor changes to the curriculum that are constantly proposed are just like little, not even band-aid solutions. I don't even know what they are. They're just like things.
That is not what's needed. Like I say that all the time. It's like not a curriculum.
Yeah.
Yes, curriculum reform, curriculum change, always needed. It's a systems change.
It's a systems change.
Yes.
I love that you said that. That's exactly it. It's a systems change. And we were saying this last week, like one very quick example is kids are doing 1 hour of work a day right now. And yes, they're skimming, but they're also apparently learning everything they need to learn in this 1 hour. So what is happening with the rest of the 5 hours in the classroom? What is happening that even though they have 5 additional hours in the regular school day, we still can't get through the curriculum? They're still always being rushed. They can never go back and work on what their gaps are. Like just something like as simple as that. But I think a bigger one you just mentioned, and we didn't talk about this last week. You were saying we're starting to, this idea of like customizable education. And I think a big one is reducing inequity. So I was listening to something on the news and the reporter said, one of the reasons that we can't give grades right now, like, students' grades can't go down is because we have to realize that home life plays a big role in kids' education. And like, we can't expect many kids, like we don't know what's going on at home, so we can't grade them. And I'm thinking that happens every day. That has nothing to, whether you're at home or going to school, of course your home life, so hopefully we're starting to see like
1,000%.
Yeah, like, wow, there's a big issue out there. Like, we are not taking this stuff into account. We don't have empathy in the classroom. We're so focused on like learning disabilities and differences, but not realizing the fact that the assessment process is totally inequitable, and only those with money can afford to often get the assessments in the first place. Anyways, like, hopefully this stuff is all coming to light. And you're right, it is a systems change. It's not only about what happens in
this is not at all a slight against teachers.
No.
This is helping, like, because so many teachers would agree in terms of the system needing to be changed, right? Like, this is so much bigger than one teacher who is amazing and doing this in their classroom or one school who's doing this. It's a whole ingrained framework that must be restructured so that these brilliant teachers can actually spend their time teaching what you know, doing, like kind of, yeah, right. Instead of managing all this stuff. And that's why I think that technology in the classroom can be transformative. So, if we look at how artificial intelligence is actually being applied to customized learning tools, and to know, we see it just a little bit in like iExcel, which we talked about, right? So that program is recording and learning what your kid is struggling with, how much time they're taking on what different parts of the problem, right? And then they're kind of putting more of that in front of them, putting less of what is taking them less time. Like, that's very basic in terms of algorithm, around provide, what's being put in front of the kid. But even that, it means that you're getting like a kid who can go off and do that on their own. Then that means the teacher can spend their time elsewhere. Like,
that's so cool though. I never even thought about like that component of it at all.
If you sit and watch it for a long time, you see what it's putting in front of your kid, the amount of time, how it's interacting. Like it's yeah. And that's basic. Like, when you think about the kind of tools that are being developed out there, it's pretty phenomenal. So
that is really cool.
Yeah. What else did we talk about? We're sort of in the last couple minutes before we wrap up. I think there's so many things that are happening right now that are worthy of much discussion. But one of the things that we both said last week that wasn't mentioned yet is just the kind of reassurance to parents about their kids not falling behind in the fall. So this is a big, is my kid going to be okay? Are they going to be behind? How,
Yeah.
worried about that, and about, being like I said, being a math teacher and getting their work done and all the other things that are happening inside households.
So I think two things, like, yeah, just to reinforce this, if I haven't said it, like, to parents, you do not need to be the math teacher. And this does not just go for now. I talk to parents all the time who, like, during the regular school year feel really bad that they can't help their kids with homework, or they don't understand, like, whatever short division is or whatever weird division thing is they're doing. So parents, you don't need to be math teachers. And truly the best thing you can teach your kids is that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be curious and to not know how to solve a problem. And that, like, they're capable of doing math just like everyone else. Like, those are the things, like, that's your key messaging as a, like, math teacher right now and always. That's all you have to do. And draw on your own experiences of failure. I'm sure all of you have failed at something and you have overcome it, or, like, it wasn't as bad as you thought, or you got through it. So those messages are really important when it comes to math, because the biggest anxiety with math is always surrounding failure. So if you can, teach your kids something about failure, you're great. In terms of being, everyone being very worried, and you're talking about this, how every summer, we experience what's called the summer slide, and parents are so worried that with their kids going back into the classroom are going to be behind and have forgotten all the math they learned in June. And it does happen. And if you think about it this way, teachers don't spend that much time reviewing. It's like 2 days of review and we're into the curriculum. I think the good news is this year, we're going to probably see teachers making major adjustments, being really, really supportive, and, like, just needing to do a lot more review than before. So, like, again, like, everyone's sort of in the same boat, and that can be really reassuring. But also, like, one of the positives is you have the time now to go over stuff you don't understand. So, like, if there was something like 6 months ago that your kid failed that test and you never revisit it, you can do that now, whereas normally you couldn't.
Yes, good point. That's a really good point. Absolutely. Yeah. And ask the teacher that stuff. Like, what what did they struggle with, and is, can you send me some of those resources? Like, I've asked teachers for that. And great.
You're talking about IXL. Like, one of the greatest things about IXL is that it's organized, like, by curriculum strands and all the topics. Like, it is really good that way. So, like, for parents needing extra practice, you can just hop right on that. And again, like, yeah, I don't worry. I feel like, don't even worry about your kids being behind, because, like, everyone, we're gonna see some adjustments. Who knows what they're gonna be, but, like,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. That's great. So next week, did you see who I'm talking to on the Insta Live?
Who?
So it's Jenny City Gibbons. Do you know Jenny? She's one of the new astronauts in Space Agency. I know, she's amazing. And I'm gonna ask her how she uses math, like, every single day, because
so I'm gonna tune in. Where can we find this?
Does this Friday.
But not on this, right? On the actual one?
Yes.
On the actual
one.
Okay.
Yeah. But she's phenomenal. And I mean, can you imagine being just what you have to go through to be an astronaut? And I love, because a lot of astronauts talk about what you talk about, which is, like, the amount of failure that you have to go through to actually make it.
Oh my God,
as an astronaut, but to make, like, involved in space exploration. It's going to be awesome anyway. So yes.
Well, and, like, she probably knows a lot about isolating.
Yes. Oh, well,
right?
I don't know. I guess she'd have to be training, but she hasn't been in space yet.
Oh, she hasn't been in space. Okay. Because I saw Chris Hadfield the other day being like, yeah, I know a thing or two about social isolating. Like,
it's so true.
I know. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, great. That's amazing.
That's really cool. Oh, this was so fun. I mean, I feel like we should just do this all the time, because it's the best.
We just talk all day.
We really could. I'm sure everyone would really love that. And you're going to post it on your story. Where is this going to go?
It's going to go on my story now, but also we're going to put it on Actua's YouTube channel. Okay. So
that's cool. Okay.
To share with you. So it will be shared, and we will let you know where we're going to share it right away. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll
talk to you, Vanessa.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.